Today we are going to be ranking all of the ending cutscenes for the Aether storyline and the Dark Aether storyline. In other words, only ranking cutscenes for stories that people actually care about. But surprisingly enough, there's actually only 14 of these ending cutscenes. I honestly thought there was going to be more, but when I actually counted them up, it was only 14. So we're going to be counting down all 14, obviously starting at 14, making our way all the way to number 1. But before we get into this, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on the cutscenes. Leave your own list down in the comment section of how you would rank these. But with all that said, let's jump right into this list.
Even if there was no witness, even if no one cared to see, it still happened somewhere.
Now, before we could get into exactly why COD the Toten's ending is the absolute worst ever, first let me make something clear. We're talking about only the cutscene, not that nice moment at the end where Samantha, you walk through the tunnel. That's really cool, but sadly not the cutscene. But now, why is COD the absolute worst? Well, where to begin? Oh yeah, I know where. When Nikolai did an effing mass murder on Ultimus and Primus. Like, what the F, bro? What? Some of the most beloved characters in all of the zombies community's opinions, and you just clap them all up like that? Okay, that sucks. You know, they don't get to choose to also be a part of sacrificing themselves for the greater good or anything like that. No, they just get clapped up. But whatever, maybe they wouldn't have agreed to it and they would have fought back and wouldn't to worry. This was the only way you could do it. Fair enough, Nikolai, but the F, Nikolai, why did you choose that way to kill him? Like, why did you choose that poison? I mean, look at Takio's face. This man suffered. This man is dying the most painful possible death. This man holding his throat. There's stuff coming out of his mouth and there's blood coming out of his eyes. That does not look like a nice death. And these are the people that are supposedly your friends that they had to die, but you know what? You made sure they died the most painful death possible. But it gets even better because Nikolai saw the painful death that he inflicted upon everybody else. And he thought, nah, I don't want any part of that. I'm good. So instead, he takes the easier way out and just gets shot in the head, which, you know, fair enough. But it's made so stupid by the fact that this man could not just shoot himself in the head and just get it done with, right? Instead, he decided he wants Samantha to shoot him and kill him. What? You realize Samantha is supposed to be one of the only two innocent people to be able to escape this corrupted universe to go to the new one. Like, she's supposed to be innocent, like that's a whole idea. But you decide right before she leaves, she's gotta clap you in the back of the head. Like, don't you think trauma or something like that? She's still a child, bruh, and you had her shoot you. Why? It is so dumb, but I'm calm now. Either way, I think I've illustrated my points here. COD the Toten has the absolute worst ending cutscene of all time. Oh yes, Revelations, the ending that was so hyped. I mean, just think of everything that happened before this story. All the character building that we have for the characters, whether it be Richtofen, Dempsey, Takio, Nikolai, all the crazy character building that we had throughout all of their maps and all of their cutscenes. And I can't wait to see how that's all going to pay off and the camaraderie that they built between each other, how that is going to play out in this ending cutscene when their lives are being threatened. How is that going to look like?
I was wondering when you bring this up. You could send us somewhere else, somewhere we've never been.
Yes, they literally didn't say an entire word throughout the entire cutscene. Literally, the only person that says anything is Richtofen, and he says like 1 or 2 lines. And it's just like, what? Excuse me? Why did we build these characters up throughout the entire season just to have them stand around and look stupid as hell? Like, what? Explain that to me, Treyarch. What is the logic behind this? It is stupid. So this one isn't too hard, and because like what even happens during these cutscenes, there's nothing much going on during these Outbreak cutscenes. And by the way, I combined both Outbreak cutscenes into one spot because I don't think either of them really did anything. I mean, we shot rockets into the ocean, and then we got kidnapped. So that's fine, but nothing really like cared because we were just like operators, and no one cares about that.
Not coming with us.
There is an operation underway in the Ural Mountains. I have to stay in the field.
So Firebase Z, like, I don't know, man. There's, again, nothing happens here. There's literally nothing of significance happens. Like, at least with Revelations and Tog, I could be angry about something, but with these last two, I'm just like, okay, I guess, okay.
You cannot stop the Forsaken. He will consume this world.
So Mouth of the Toten is actually a decent cutscene for the Dark Aether story, but the only reason it's at least here is because of the, I guess, foreshadowing or the glooming threat of the director, who at the time we had no idea who he was. So it was like, I guess there was a cliffhanger there, which got you a little bit hyped for DLC 4, so I guess there's that.
We're going to fight the war, Eddie. The great war.
Oh yes, the first time that instead of getting CGI cutscenes, we got drawings. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I mean, nothing really of significance happened in this cutscene, right? Like nothing really that anybody cared about, right? Oh yeah, there was that. I mean, we just had Dr. Monty just go chomps to Dr. Max's. I mean, okay. This cutscene lands here just because, I mean, nothing much went on here, but hey, we got an iconic line from it, didn't we?
I'm so sorry. I really don't have time to explain. I have a universe to set right. Thank you, and goodbye.
You four must come with us. In time, it will make sense. Now,
so Classified's cutscene is cool. It was really hyped for the time for two major reasons. Because bring your mind back to this point when we first saw it. Because when we saw this, this was the first time we were seeing Ultimus since Moon, which was a long time ago. I think that was back in 2011 and this was 2018. So that's 7 years without seeing these people, which is pretty significant to all of a sudden see them again. I know we saw the 1.0 versions in BO3, but it really wasn't the same. So this was the first time we really saw the Ultimus version of the characters again. But it was only made cooler by the fact that we also saw Ultimus and Primus interact for the very first time, and that was just something that was pretty darn cool if you ask me.
but know this. In my heart, I share the same pain as you.
I mean, what can I say about Gorod Krovi? It's really just pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of the third time we'd seen this in a row because we know how BO3 story went, but it was still really cool how we got character development for characters that just didn't have it. And in this case, we had Nikolai, who we heard about why he ended up the way he did with all the drinking and stuff like that because of his wife that died in the war, which was very unfortunate for him. And, you know, we learned a lot more of why he is the way he is, which was a really good moment in Zombies where we had characters, which was nice, but more than that, we had characters that actually had deep backstories.
I know what I have to do. I'm sorry. This is the only way.
Forsaken's ending cutscene to me is probably the best designed cutscene. Of course, it's held back by other factors, mainly the operators that we don't care about, but overall, it did do a lot of things that I really liked. I mean, it wrapped up the story for Cold War Zombies. It tied up a lot of loose ends, quite literally, and then more than that, it had a huge cliffhanger for the future of this story. Actually, two huge cliffhangers. One was with the reveal of who the director was, of course being Eddie, and then also a little something at the end where Peck is trying to look for something in the ocean near Japan. And that's something I could really appreciate because it perfectly wrapped up a story, and I thought it was designed just so well.
I wish the heroes in our stories were real, Sam.
I know what you mean. But we will make everything okay.
Origins, when it first came out, was actually not received too well, and a lot of people were all like, oh my gosh, Zombies is just kids playing in their imagination or something like that, which to be fair, that's kind of what it seemed like. But you know, I didn't believe that because I was cringe at the time. But hey, my cringeness actually worked out because it was true in the end. It wasn't just children's imagination, which I do appreciate to say the very least. But really, the reason why Origins cutscene ranks so high on my list is not because of the cutscene at the time, but it was more like what it turned into being. Like, the Origins cutscene was a huge thing throughout Black Ops 3 story. I mean, the whole house thing, the children, and all that was really important. And that's why I think I like Origins cutscenes so much more now, because how it shaped the Black Ops 3 storyline, which is pretty good in my opinion.
I was a warrior. I fought many great battles for the glory of our nation, for the honor of the dying samurai spirit.
So this might be a little bit lower than most people have it, but I have my reasons for that, which you will see. Either way though, again, this is just one of those Black Ops 3 cutscenes that isn't Revelations, and it's just really good. It built up some story, explained some things of how Takeo ended up the way he did, much like with Nikolai. It had the whole self-sacrifice thing that 1.0 Takeo did. I mean, hello Togler Toten, take notes. Either way though, it was just a really beautiful cutscene. I think this is the only time anybody will ever describe a Zombies ending cutscene as beautiful, but this one just felt that way.
Wait! If someone's gotta take him out to save the universe, then it should be me that does it.
So you may question why I put the Ryzen over Zetsubo's cutscene, but I think I have some pretty good reasons. And to start off with these reasons, I think we should focus on the most important character in this cutscene, of course, being Dempsey. Because at first glance, you may say that this cutscene is less superior compared to the other two, because Dempsey didn't even get to talk to the other version of himself, where the other two had whole conversations. But I would argue that this is actually more significant to the character development of Dempsey than any conversation could have been. Because you have to keep in mind what kind of character Dempsey is. I mean, he's supposed to be the meathead, the marine who runs through his enemies being completely invincible. But now in this cutscene, he is confronted with the reality that he isn't invincible and his life could be easily taken. I mean, this other version of himself was killed in his sleep and couldn't even fight back, and this really opened his eyes to his own mortality, and we see him struggling with this when he hesitates to kill the other version of himself. But this isn't the only reason why. In fact, I think that there's something that's overlooked in this cutscene, and it's not only the character development of Dempsey, but there's a very important character development for Richtofen too. Because you have to keep in mind, before this cutscene, Richtofen hadn't shown a shred of humanity ever. But now in this cutscene, we see him not only listen to the request of Dempsey to him to be the one to take the life of the other version of himself, but after seeing Dempsey take the life of this other version of himself and seeing how that affected him, he doesn't do anything rash or inconsiderate. He sees it and he pats Dempsey on the shoulder and lets him walk away, showing us the sympathy he feels towards Dempsey.
I am still here. Wait! I'm God.
Now, it may come as no surprise to you that I think Blood of the Dead has the best ending cutscene of all time. In fact, most of you probably agree with me. But even with that said, I think I could still give perspective into this cutscene that most people don't realize, or maybe they do, but they didn't really conceptualize it. And that's what I want to do for you guys right now, because a lot of people, when they think of this cutscene, they think of Richtofen's sacrifice for the greater good, for everyone else could escape the pocket dimension that they had been all trapped in. And that's true, that did happen, but one thing that people don't realize about Richtofen's sacrifice is that it wasn't a willing sacrifice. This is something he didn't want to happen. He didn't want to die in this pocket dimension. And this is shown throughout the cutscene, especially when he's on the dark mechanism, talking to himself at first, but then is given a little bit of hope when the other Richtofen walks there, saying that he thought they were going to leave him to die. But that hope swiftly fades away when that other Richtofen walks away. And this is where we see the true despair from Richtofen, where he realizes his fate. He realizes that no one's coming to help him, that no one is saving him from the dark mechanism, and instead they're just going to use his blood to escape this pocket dimension. And this is where we see the despair and the struggle in his final moments that he has, where he's saying anything he could think of that could possibly change their minds from abandoning him in this dimension. But of course, it's all fruitless, and they all leave, abandoning him. And at this moment is where Richtofen realizes the most painful reality out of all of them.
You won't even remember.
And that's going to wrap it up for this video, but again, I'd love to hear what you guys think about not only my list, but I'd love to see your guys' list down in the comment section of how you would rank these cutscenes also. But that's going to wrap it up for me. If you guys did enjoy the video and you found it entertaining in any way, shape, or form, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters, guys.